honest to God, Jai Courtney was good in this movie. So, Suicide Squad is a brand new movie set in the DC Cinematic Universe. It's a premise that, at least in the comics, has always really intrigued me. Basically, the plot of this film is a suggestion that Superman could at any time rip the president straight out of the White House and kill him. Or as other people like to call it, Superman 2. Just like with Superman. So then we have Amanda Waller, who takes the worst and more practical villains of the DC universe, puts them together, and turns them into an anti-Superman defense force thing. Or other people like to call it Task Force X. And as you're probably going to call it, the Suicide Squad. So the Suicide Squad is composed of Deadshot, Harley Quinn, Rick Flag, Katana, Boomerang, Killer Croc, Diablo, Enchantress, and Slipknot. So these villains basically act as the defense force against metahumans, is what they're calling them. And I've got to say, this movie was awesome. I don't know about this Rotten Tomatoes thing. In fact, let me pause the review. Pause it. So basically, Rotten Tomatoes are giving this a very low score, along with a lot of other high-end reviewers. I don't get it at all. I don't understand what the shit, dude? What are you doing? Why? It's not 29%, 30%. It's not 5 out of 10. It's not that bad, okay? It's actually a good time. Look, there's a petition going around to shut down Rotten Tomatoes. I'm not going to sign it. I don't agree with that. I don't agree that's not even cool. Come on. Look, it's not Rotten Tomatoes. It's just one reviewer in Rotten Tomatoes. One shit reviewer who just absolutely failed. It's not the fault of the website. These are people's jobs that people are messing with. I don't agree with signing any petitions. It's just a joke. Look, if you go see the film and you know you're having a good time, you know it's a good time. You don't need Rotten Tomatoes 30% to give you any guidelines. Well, now that's over, I can actually review the film. So around the board, there's a really interesting cast of characters. All of them bringing something unique to the table. You got Will Smith playing Deadshot. Originally, I was like, why have you cast Will Smith? He's just gonna be Will Smith. And in some ways, yes, he was Will Smith. But at the same time, he brought so much more than that. It was a breath of fresh air. There haven't really been many interpretations. I know he was on Arrow, and I guess he's been in the comics and in some of the games, but this is the first time we've seen like a proper live action movie Deadshot, and he nailed it, adding in subtle elements of humor, and he had one of the deepest emotional connections in the film. Yes, he's funny, yes, he's badass, but at the same time, it's quite tragic what's happened to his character, and that's to be said for a lot of these characters. Harley Quinn, for example. This is definitely a character a lot of people are excited to see. Margot Robbie, of course, was playing her. She sets herself up as a great DC villain. She's a massive fan favourite, and she does not disappoint. She's that right element of crazy and unpredictability, funny, dangerous. She's just an exciting character with so much potential and so many routes the character can go down. It's gonna be freaking pumped for the Batman movie. Hopefully she's in it. She deserves to be in it. And then you got Jai Courtney as Boomerang. Originally I was like, Boomerang, man, you are you throwing sticks? Good for you. And also I don't like Jai Courtney. It's just a known fact. But oh my god, he sold this character so well. He was definitely the comedic relief. Like I say, they're all funny, right? But he was the one. He carried the humor. He's cocky, he's just dirty. And then you got Killer Croc, right? And, well, actually, this is where my first complaint comes in. This is real nitpicking, but, dude, this guy should be Killer Croc. Are you kidding? Like, that, right, there's a point he's like, okay, I'm gonna take my clothes off now. And I was like, dude, are they my arms? Jesus Christ. That guy, I'm sure, was up for it. Probably as much dialogue in Game of Thrones as Killer Croc did in the movie anyway. But Killer Croc was still funny. He had a few one-liners. I think Killer Croc, out of all the characters, was definitely the weakest. And this only really boils down to his dialogue. I mean, he kind of didn't say much. All he kind of did was go, yeah. That felt a bit one-dimensional, I'm not gonna lie. But that being said, you have a character like Diablo. Oh my god, Diablo was so good in this movie. Definitely the most emotional. And I liked it because he was very conservative. He was very powerful, but was like a pacifist, I guess. He doesn't want to join the Suicide Squad. It's not his choice. He's just kind of forced to, and he doesn't really want to use his powers. He's definitely one of the more emotional characters in the film, and I absolutely loved him. Probably my favourite. Katana in this film, she didn't speak English, she spoke Japanese, but I loved the subtitle font. That was perfect. It wasn't like a weird yellow Comic Sans or something. It was very comic booky, and Katana herself was filled with emotion. An amazing actress. What's her name? She was played by Karen Fukuhara. I don't understand how a film that's touted to be amazing, comical, explosive, is all of that, and yet has such an emotional undertone that weaves in through the action. Kitano was an amazing character, just as Rick Flag was an amazing character. He was the one I was actually looking forward to the least, because he's basically just a US military guy. Like an amazing special operative. But again, that emotion carries him forward. Amanda Waller, the one I was talking about right at the start of the review. She's aggressive, she's tough, she ain't no lady, but she's a beast, she knows how to handle herself. It's perfect, because in the comics at the moment, Amanda Waller's being a bit more skimpy. She's like, that's not Amanda Waller. Amanda Waller is rough, she's big, you wouldn't mess with her. Batman is scared of her. Batman is scared of her. She may be a businesswoman, but you don't mess with her. Actually, Amanda Waller is kind of like a villain in this film if you think about it. Very strange. Didn't think about it that way. Enchantress, very creepy, reminding me of Gollum. Plasus. She's used in a way I wasn't really expecting going into the film. And then Slipknot, you know, he had so much to do, he brought so much to the table. So yeah, all these characters come together into an amazing, well-structured movie. I think I forgot someone. My boy, the Joker. Joker is my favourite villain of all time, so I was really nervous going into this film that Jared Leto was not going to live up to my expectations. And with such strong foundations fitted by people like Mark Hamill, Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, all amazing Jokers. Could Jared Leto do it for me? Could he be the one to top it all? No, he wasn't. But that does not mean he's bad. He was amazing. He brought this kind of street thug kind of Joker. So you kind of like Jack Nicholson's more of a gangster kind of Joker. You know, you have Heath Ledger. He's more of an anarchist, a psycho. The damaged nature of the character, and it's perfect. Still number one for me. Jared Leto is more of a modern day street gang kind of. Those tattoos, a lot of people complaining about them. I actually don't mind them after seeing this film. I was a bit unsure at the start, and yeah, they do look a bit patchy. I don't know. Bit like all over the place. He could have had a bit of order or something. It sells the character. He's a crime lord. He has an army. He's just an underdog of Gotham City. And hopefully him and Batman have a full-on confrontation in the future. Because in my opinion, he just wasn't in it long enough for me to be secured that this is the Joker for the future. But at the same time, Jared Leto nails his role here. You can tell how much he gives a shit about this character, and that's what we need in films like this. That's what was missing in Batman vs Superman. This guy was not this guy. This guy is definitely this guy, you can tell. But this film was so well structured and managed to balance all of these characters. Some of them had longer backstories than others, but all of them really had a chance, most of them had a chance to show off where they came from. But I can't talk about all these positives through the characters without talking about some negatives. I guess my main negative was some of the inconsistencies in the film. The plot, for example, like the reason the Suicide Squad are there, I'm not feeling that. It feels like a boring one-note kind of story. Main villain overall fell flat. They didn't have any motivations, any character, or any deep intrigue that a lot of comic book and movie villains have had these days. And then the last thing that really didn't hit for me was some of the CGI. Again, like the main villain, that shit is not good to look at. I'm not feeling that. But I also overall love the tone of this movie. The vibrance, the colours, the neon lights. When characters get in their introductions, they kind of get their own little side story, their own little bios, and it's all done with this neon colour palette. It looks amazing, comic book, and perfect. I think a film like this has to be really well structured for it to contain so many different characters, and that's why this movie succeeds. All the characters have their own personalities. It's believable, it's understandable, and it's all contained in this one movie. And I love it for that. Also, the soundtrack was really good as well. I mean, I guess some of the songs felt like they were kind of put in afterwards. Some of them didn't hit the mood of the scene it was trying to set up, and overall broke some of the immersion. But again, that's nitpicking. The music itself was really cool and funky, and I enjoyed it. So overall, good cast of characters, good Joker, good soundtrack, great vibrance, great structure. Failing a little bit on the story, some of the CGI, and the main villain overall fell flat. So I think overall I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. If the villain was better, it could hit 9. I just was not too fond of that villain. So overall I'm going to give it an 8. It's just a really great, fun comic book movie. Considering the rest of the summer's been a little bit flat, It's nice to suddenly have that impact and burst of humour, colour, action, vibrance and awesomeness. If you're a fan of comic books, you're going to love this film. If you don't love this film, okay, you're entitled to your opinion. My bad for making that judgment. But like I said, go out and see Suicide Squad if you're a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of DC, if you're a fan of Marvel, if you're a fan of superheroes like me. Thank you for watching. Make sure to drop a like, comment and subscribe. Mine has been Tom, and I'll see you all next time.